So I made this clamp for my roll-in bandsaw. The factory clamp that comes with the saw, I mean, you can get it configured two ways. You can get it once with a Heinrich kind of quick cam vise that's meant to clamp the work up against a plate that gets mounted to the front of the work table here. The other alternative is kind of a strange looking like tripod clamp, and I understand now after having built this why it's designed that way. But thanks to a Garage Journal user by the username Sweetcorn, who has one of these saws and who created his own clamp and gave me the idea, I built this. Here, I'll show you. This is along the lines of what Sweetcorn put together. It was something like this. It was based on an F-clamp, and he cut it down to bring this up here so he could clamp to the backstop of his kind of swivel 90 block. And then he welded blocks on one side or the other of the clamp that said he was able to drill a hole through it for the guide rod. I started that, and I actually screwed it up and was planning to make another one when it occurred to me that I had these Fireball Tool mini Maximus clamp kits. So these are just, you buy these two pieces and you're meant to use your own 1/2 inch by 1 inch material. This happens to be solid cold rolled bar, but you can use hollow tube or really anything that'll fit the dimensions of the clamp. They're pretty cool because you can use really long sections and make long clamps or spreaders. But in any case, the advantage for me is that the clamps are wide enough that I was actually able to drill a hole all the way through one side of the clamp, and it still leaves enough meat on there to be plenty strong, especially just for clamping work for a bandsaw. So I sort of was able to make this kind of custom clamp. So the reason why you put this guide rod through here, so that when you adjust the clamp for the work, you can move the clamp open and close, and it kind of stays lined up. Otherwise, what happens when you have a clamp like this is when you start to clamp down, especially if the 2 points at which you're clamping are not lined up, it can cause this whole thing to kind of cant to one side, and that causes alignment issues and things get a little bit sloppy. So the guide rod really is just meant to keep it lined up here and just allow you to adjust to fit a different size workpiece. So I'll show you an example here. This is a 1, 2, 3 block. You know, I can clamp in this orientation and then slide this piece forward, lock it down, and it's nice and tight. You'll see it's moving a little bit because I don't have it tight here. I'll show that in just a second. But this works really well. The other thing it does is it keeps the piece really parallel. If you don't have the guide rod in there, when you tighten the clamp, it can cause it to sort of lift up on the front of the part that you're cutting, which is not what you want. So this keeps it really nice and parallel. You'll see I added this extra plate on here, which was another reason I wanted to use this Fireball clamp. Instead of having to separately sort of drill and tap the back of the F-clamp, there's already a bolt here that's meant to keep the little swivel foot on the factory clamp. I just took the swivel foot off and drilled and tapped this piece of steel for, I think it's a 10 1.5 pitch metric bolt, and it threads right in there. I sanded it off just so that it sort of fits flush and doesn't, interfere with the work. But I had to drill through my right angle plate here, both here, and I did it on the other side so that I can clamp on either side, which is really nice. And theoretically, I could make a second one of these if I ever wanted to put a clamp on both sides of the cut. I don't know why I would want to do that, but I may find the reason one day. Anyway, I wanted to show this too. So this was just a right angle plate that I had, just an old kind of fixture, cast iron fixture plate. It already had some holes drilled in it, had been drilled into it several times. I added some new holes, and I'll show you kind of why. So I added 2 holes. Number one is this hole here. So this acts as my pivot, and I can swing this around so that I can make miter cuts. The reason I drill these other holes is there's an alignment hole right here in the table, and I'm just using a bolt right now. I'll probably make a proper pin or something, but if I drop this bolt right down there, it happens to be right at 45 degrees. Similarly, I can swivel the whole thing this way and drop that guide bolt in there, and that's at 45 degrees. So now the work is oriented 45. I suppose you can make any other cut you want by just using a scale or something to align your piece and then crank this bolt down and tighten it. But most of what I do is either straight on cuts, 90 degrees, or at 45 one direction the other. So that makes that really nice. Put it in there, run this back bolt down, kind of snug it up, and everything's really tight and clamped to the table. And I've made several cuts through here, holds it down really nicely. I'm also able to make this sort of sacrificial piece as wide or as narrow as I want, so I can get really, really close to clamp down parts that are very small. It's one of the problems I had with my previous bandsaw is I couldn't really clamp anything too close. It had to be at least 4 inches long to be able to clamp enough of it to hold it in, hold it to cut. So anyway, really pleased with this. Thanks again to Sweet Corn for sort of the guidance. He actually sent me some pictures of his setup after I spotted it on the forum and asked some questions. So really appreciate the help, and I'm really happy with this and excited to start using it.